it's questionable. Hey, guys, we're talking about questionable stuff here to kick off what some would consider to be the 13th episode of King Arthur Pendragon 5.2, the Great Pendragon Campaign. It should be noted that tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, so if you didn't want to watch generic fantasy adventure for some reason, you can catch live Ticking Time Bomb's recap of his Arthuriana campaigns, all of his one-shots, short arcs, and both of his major campaigns. We'll be having as many guests as they can fit, and then all of the main cast from the two big shows to just sit around. I was invited, but obviously I have a show to run, so I can't be there. That said, you know, it has nothing to do with what we're about to talk about, but it amazes me that the Reddit front page for the last 3 days has had what is being treated as very serious, a crash UFO report that the UFO has been taken by the U.S. military and that a British lawyer is the only person who's been allowed inside, and that the inside defies the laws of time and space and is the size of a football field despite the exterior of the device being 30 feet. I am enthralled that thousands of people are following this and believe that it is real.
Why do aliens always go to America? That's what I understand.
Why is a British lawyer the only one allowed in a U.S. military site to break this news?
Because he's the doctor.
Oh my God.
That was the great thing with
that's Mr. Who Esquire. That's a completely different show. Mr. Who, attorney at law.
Hey,
was it District 9 where the aliens arrived in South Africa?
Officially has a Juris Doctorate in this country.
Listen, District 9 wasn't really about aliens. It was about Zeph in South Africa. The aliens were just there to show the massive racism problem that still exists in South Africa.
But they literally say at the start of the movie, like with the fake news reports, like everyone always expected aliens to turn up in America, and here they turned up in this country which is struggling politically, socially, you know.
Yeah, it's not like aliens would land in Iceland, like Xenonauts. One of the best games I've played this year. Holy shit. I think I should reinstall it and play it again. You know, instead of playing Xenonauts, though, what if I focused up and we played this game?
What is this game called?
I mentioned it. It's also on screen. It says King Arthur Pendragon, the Great Pendragon Campaign, right there on the screen.
Okay.
What do you mean, what is this game? First off, who are you to ask me that question? All right? Who are you? Who are you to ask me that question?
He's just making sure that when
Sir Kendric the Pitton.
Yeah. He's making sure that when this historical archive is found, you know, millennia from now, and the video is too damaged to watch, that people can still listen to it and hear what's going on.
Exactly. Exactly.
From the Internet Archives, the Wayback Machine version 7 on the Internet version 9. Oh, well, people of the future, which is technically everyone, even the people I'm talking to on this call right now, there's such a slight delay that technically everything I say is in the future. Or for you, it's the past. I mean, really, what is time? Is a question that I'm not going to entertain right now, except I am. What is time? Because the year is 491.
I have a question about last episode.
Yeah, let's go sideways.
Would Herawd have gotten any extra glory for becoming a pawn of Ufius and giving him the information about Gorlo?
No.
Okay.
For the simple reason you literally cannot tell anyone about it.
Well,
that's fair.
There were a whole shitload of people giving me side eye for sitting down with Ufius.
Sitting down with Ufius and being one of his secret black knights is not the same thing.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Listen, if you do your job correctly, you're going to be one of those guys that's their wife is like, "Hey, honey, they just declassified some stuff from Vietnam and your name was in here, apparently."
Yeah, except she's a spy too, so she'll absolutely know what's going on.
But there's just a spinning chair because
It will be
Glimo's just
flipped. Oh
gone.
my god, we can talk about this now.
Isn't it nice?
Shit, what
Nice
are the
when you can
neighbors
take home
going
to
to
work.
say now that they know that this thing has happened?
Oh my goodness. Chad is applauding your glory fishing.
Excellent.
Yeah. I appreciate it. You can't knock the hustle, but you still have to deny it.
Listen, if we don't advocate for ourselves, who will advocate for us?
You know, in the words of Brendan Lee
Ufius.
Mulligan, do you think that a hawk assisting you on surgery is stretching credulity right now?
Listen, they had to fight to get to that point. So
Hebe's will apparently advocate for me until his last hour.
Court this year is held in London. Everybody is there. Everyone who's anyone is there.
Didn't we do that already?
What?
Oh.
No. You're still in London. You ended in London in the year 490, and Gorlo ran away, enraging the king. We recall that part?
Yes.
You're still in London, like 5 months later.
Okay.
You've just no, but the time between Gorlo leaving and the next events happening are only a few weeks. But you've been here for like 5 months. It's been a long time for you to be away from home. Frankly, it's ridiculous. Present are people who will gossip: Prince Maddock, Brastius, Earl Roderick, Duke Ufius, the king himself, people who talk about intrigue, and surprisingly, not Merlin. Also present is a particular knight who we all have come to know and love, the steward of Levcomagus, Sir Blades. He is present as well. And several other knights from your court. I realize we have not been chatty about who you guys are friends with in Salisbury, but pretty much everyone whose name you've ever heard of is...
ourselves.
Yeah, pretty much every knight in Salisbury you've ever heard of is also here.
Would you guys mind if I went first on this one?
Go for it.
So Herawd would like to have a sit down with Duke Ufius.
Okay. Now, it should be noted that these events do not have to take place in the same day. This court is not like, welcome to the Pentecostal feast. This is like, your life is now hell. You live in Uther's court. You can't leave. You can't bring your wife. You can't do your taxes. We expect you to send for your taxes, but you can't go home or do anything. You're all here, and if you leave, you're as bad as Gorlo. You are going to meet with Ufius. Do you meet with Ufius in public, or do you meet with him in private?
Private.
Okay. You meet with Ufius in private then. Ufius... I wouldn't say that he's a spy master. I would say that Ufius is more a vizier type character. He is a chief of staff, a person of power. He controls access to the king, which makes him possibly almost as important as the king. And while his head may not have the crown resting upon it, it still weighs heavily upon him what he is asked to do and what he does. And so, he's looking his age for sure.
So Herawd is under no impression that Ufius has any love for him.
Good, because that would be ridiculous.
That, you know, he has screwed over Levkamagus and by extension Ulfius for the last 5 years.
Sure.
However, does Herawd think that his station that with what has happened in the last 5 months, that he's in any better stead with Ulfius?
Ufius, you sense, is a man with the rare ability to compartmentalize in this era. Your relationship with him as one of Uther's spying knights has no bearing on the fact that you are an annoyance to him as the Duke of Silchester. You are, to him, two different people.
Interesting.
As long as you do your job for Uther, Herawd of Salisbury may redeem himself to some extent, maybe. But Herawd, Knight of Uther, that's a different matter. That's a different person. You're here to do a job that you've asked to do and proven that you're capable of doing, which is to protect the king at any cost.
Very well. Before going into this meeting, has my new court of Jongleurs given me any interesting information?
Oh, brother, they are no.
Okay.
They can't. It's not that they wouldn't love to help you. It's that you sent letters to order, that they be hired and such. They can't even get close to London.
Haven't had nearly enough time. Fair enough.
No. The shores of London, and I don't mean physical shores. I mean the suburbs and the villages. The amount of supplies you need to have the majority of a country's nobility and knights stay in one city for an extremely extended period of time while also preparing for war. I mean, it's insane here in London right now. Like, the streets are constantly packed. Everything smells like shit. It's difficult just to get clean water. And if you want to try to bring your jongleurs in, there's like 7 waves of jongleurs ahead of them, desperate to get into London, because this is where all of the money and the entire country is now based out of. You are, I'm afraid, alone.
So, fair enough. I won't have this information now. I would have actually sent them to Tintagel. And if at some point in the future I could get
Tintagel, interesting.
Messenger messenger bird information either to my wife or to me, and if I don't have it in time for Pentecost, that's fine.
This is such an interesting move. I would like you to roll call heads or tails.
Tails.
Okay, roll 1d2. You want a 2.
I got a 2.
Okay. Your jongleurs have successfully infiltrated Tintagel. They are, unfortunately, now in the same situation as you are, and that they are no longer free to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Their lack of freedom to leave is not because a noble has said that they must muster here. It is because they are agents of Salisbury and are considered to be spies.
That register as foreign agents.
Here's the thing. They are there, and they are actually spying for you. I think you occasionally, like once a month, you get a letter smuggled out for them, and based on the contents of a letter, it seems like for every one you get, you're missing 3. Um, what is it with everybody in these foreign? Is this an Australian thing?
What do you mean?
It's
It's a common thing in worldwide politics. You can in some countries require you to register as a foreign agent to be in the country.
Oh yes. Yeah. We have that in America. We just don't bother to do it. Oof, yikes! I think I might have just demonetized myself. Yes. So it's they are suspect, like if it was found out that they actually were spying, they would simply be killed. It is suspected that they are attempting to spy, and so they're being held in tinted gel. They're being forced to put on entertainment. They are being paid for their efforts at market rate, of course. But I mean, this is not unusual, and it's certainly not against the law to just be like, you can't leave. It's a time of war. You're being paid. You're being fed. You must stay here. Normally, it would be an affront to capture men sworn into the service of another noble, but they're at war with you, so, you know. Is there something in particular you would like to know about from your agents since you've gotten them in here? I'll let you ask one question about Tintigel or Terrabil, the two castles of significance.
I hope that the missing letters are particularly trolling, like, you know, my lord, you must remember what I said in my last letter. It's imperative that you do what we previously discussed.
Counselor, as per our previous discussion.
For my last email.
That's right, yeah. And what I said previously, the password is rhubarb.
Oh my God, Spoon. If you open a letter with it, that's like saying bless your heart in the South to open with for my last email. Some consider it to be a most dire insult.
You never realize how close the G is to the T on the keyboard until you sign every email off with regards.
One question.
What is the state of muster?
They are fully putting themselves into a defensive state. They are not preparing to like rampage out over London. They're not preparing to cut a bloody swath as far north as like Malahut. They are preparing to separate themselves from Logres proper. And in that regard, they seem eminently skilled, capable, and defensible. Tintigel in particular has a simple stone bridge that leads over to the main palace. There's an iron gate. If you wanted to attack from the water, you have to come up through another iron gate. Like, just assaulting Tintigel is assaulting an island made of stone and iron through only very narrow channels. They are preparing a extremely strong defense that should and could take years to break.
Okay. I will relay this intelligence to Ufius as my opening salvo.
Ufius turns to look up at you, and there is something in his eyes of like confirmation of something he already knew, but also a deep and terrible sorrow of like, yes, it's going to get much worse before it gets better. He looks at you and gives you a very slight nod to let you know that you have successfully done your job, which is good enough for him. And as he turns away from you, he continues writing in a ledger book and says, Old King Hengist of Kent has died, and in bed at that. His son Octa is going to be the next king of Kent.
I know me, the player, doesn't remember these names, but does Herawd know them?
Octa is who you captured the banner from at
Okay.
Yes, at the Battle of Lindsay. I believe Octa was captured, so he is now basically king of a huge portion of Saxons.
Interesting. Does his loss on the field weaken his position at all?
Kings and princes find themselves imprisoned all the time. I'm sure Octa will find a traitor to help him escape, or someone will sue for peace, or an offering will be made for his ransom. Uther is distracted. We should be concentrating on our Saxon foes. And we are not. I fear that the Saxons will take advantage of our divided attention. I worry about King AL. We have him on the ropes, and now we are letting him run free.
Would permission to my Earl be granted for him to return to his lands?
No.
Very well.
Do not ask.
Wouldn't dream of it, my lord. Your Grace. Your Grace, may I also ask something?
Seems you already have.
My predecessor has shown up to court. Should I be worried about my new role?
You think you are the only one?
I think that I am the only one who stands on a knife's edge in this particular precipice. There's no love lost between our two kingdoms, and I know that I have been a thorn in the side of Levkamagus, and Levkamagus has a special place with my Earl.
He stops for a moment after like dipping the pen in too much ink and letting it rip for a second, and then he stops, puts it down, and turns to look at you for the first time fully in this conversation and says, I have heard that you are famous for your suspicion, but I did not realize that you were also so filled with pride. I think you will find, Sir Herawd, that you think about yourself and how others see you far more than anyone else does. How you serve the king, so long as it is just and chivalrous, does not concern me. Your problems with Duke Ufius of Silchester are meaningless in this room when you speak with Ufius, servant of the king.
All I needed to know, Your Grace.
And I would like you to take a checkmark, impulse, suspicious, and proud at this moment.
Excellent.
Is it, though? Is it excellent? Is it really?
I mean, from Herawd's perspective, absolutely.
Okay.
I feel like this is everything that he's been working up to. And he will bow even more than station might need and then back out of Ulfius's chambers.
As you are almost out of the chambers, he turns away from you again and says over his shoulder, "Let the people of Salisbury know of Hengist's death and of the rise of Octa. The court should be prepared for the next generation of warfare."
It shall be done.
Close the door on your way out.
Herawd closes the door, and I don't need another scene, but I will relay this information to Roderick so that he can make whatever preparations he feels are appropriate.
Okay. Who's next in the diorama of people and places around the court at London?
I've got something if
Go for it, Spoon.
so I think in this time while we're all stuck at court here, Sir Kendric has been kind of making it his priority to get to know with and become friends with the other Knights of Salisbury, and if we're allowed, like going out on like short hunts around London, or like going falconing, or like, doing like sword practice or whatever.
Sure.
And just like ingratiating himself and making sure that the Knights of Salisbury are as entertained as they can be.
Okay.
And if that happens to include Earl Roderick several times, that's,
I would love a roll here. I think it may be more than one roll.
Okay. Are we thinking like maybe like a hunting and courtesy?
I think it's going to be hunting, and it's also going to be a hospitality passion check.
Okay. Do you want me to do the hunting first or the hospitality first?
I think you should do the hospitality first, because you may boost yourself in the hunting.
Okay. That's a success.
And indeed, you have done so. Take a +5.
Mm-hmm.
Check mark.
Hospitality?
Indeed.
That is a critical hunting.
Critical hunt. You lead several hunts throughout the end of winter and the beginning of spring. Knights are, of course, forbidden to leave London for any reason whatsoever. So the hunts are mostly on foot with, minimal armor and no swords, bows only sort of deal. Nothing you could run away with. And no one, if you're asked to basically give a pledge when you leave the castle that, you will not run away. No one would be sent to check up on you should you give such a pledge, but sometimes you get the idea that maybe some of the small folk involved in the hunt might be. I mean, it's London. You didn't bring your own people,
right? Yeah,
these people are all Uther's direct subjects. So,
yeah, and I mean, I don't even think like on these hunts, there's probably a little bit of grumbling about how we're all stuck here, but I don't think Kendric really takes part in that. He's just more of like, hey, let's just, this is the situation we're in. Let's just make the best of it and have a good time.
You, unsurprisingly, find yourself. The Earl comes out, and as a result, Sir Elid is also present. Sir Ameg, who, if you recall, was present with several battles with you and was specifically given a castle to watch over some witches, shows up at least once. Sir Jaredin and Sir Baradin both appear.
Sir Baradin?
So he's a knight you only met once.
Okay.
But it was in one of your early battles. Yes, the fact that you don't know who it is means I think I could just successfully write this guy out of the campaign at this point if no one knows who Baradin is.
Well, now I do. Now I know who he is.
You do, but you don't remember where you met him or why.
What was it? The Battle of Mirkred?
It was pretty early, I believe. He might have been.
Was he one of? Yeah, he was like.
He was one of your support knights. I think he was the one that was speaking to you about, like how the victory soup goes or something like that. He was like, yeah, everyone has to bring something and put it in the soup.
Yeah.
One day, while you are hunting, your hunts gain a unusual reputation for being social circles, not just among Salisbury, but other courts are so interested in what's going on there. People are trying to get themselves invited onto your hunts. Sure. And then one day, on a quiet day, almost no one is present on your hunts, and you're not sure what's going on. When riding on a horse over a hill comes the King Uther and a small hunting party that includes Duke Ufius. Not only do you have the honor of hunting with a king who is increasingly manic and suspicious, but you also have the honor of taking a shit with him as well, which could be very important for your future career.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So what is
it should be noted
thing that we never would talk about on your channel?
Yes. But the thing you need to recognize is that Spoon and I are both watching Ravening War, and this is very important to Ravening War and to A Crown of Candy, is that you have to take a shit with the king if you want to be war buddies.
The future king. The future king. He's a prince, and when he takes the shit. So
I've seen you shit.
But one thing I picked up from Stephen Lumpkin's campaign of Pendragon was a lot of conversations with Earl Roderick were had pissing off the wall of Sarah Castle.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Look, nothing will ever beat the traitor in A Crown of Candy going, and you know, Amathar, I get to watch you shit one last time. Oh my God! After an 8-minute monologue, what a chilling final line.
Yep. Oh man, and he still didn't die.
You think they'll still call you Amathar the Unfallen after this? It's incredible to think that he improv that entire scene.
Yeah, that's skill right there.
All right, so anyway, back here, you hunt with the king, you catch nothing of significance, but that's because there's nothing to catch around London. It's really just a way to kill time.
Yeah, right.
You know, there's literally almost a good fraction of 1 million people that live in this city, and you know, anything that could be hunted will have been hunted by the peasants long before you get there. I think maybe you catch a couple of waterfowl or something.
Yeah.
But it's considered a important social experience because the alternative is to sit in a hall filled with dozens of other knights with no privacy, farting and smelling the entire hall up with no physical activity whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations on your critical.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any sort of glory for that, for having the king show up to
you know what? Absolutely. You don't get it until the end of the year, though.
Sure.
But let me make sure to make a note to yourself that you'll get 10 glory for hosting the king on a hunt and shitting with him.
You're right on your character sheet.
I'm gonna write it in my notes, and then at the end of the year, I'll write it on my character sheet.
The last 3 words are very important. They have to be included.
Yeah. So 10 glory for hunting with the king and shitting with him.
That way, your heir can be like, you know, my dad took a shit with King Uther back in the day, and everyone would be like, wow, that's really impressive.
You get 1 glory for that.
Yeah.
Well, James, we're back around to Gwgan.
I think the only person I'd like to speak to in court is Earl Roderick's in court, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, if it's at all appropriate, I would like to approach the Earl.
Earl Roderick is, as we've all established, he is Jack Aubrey from Master and Commander. the main character. He is looking grayer and older, sweatier, and perhaps too hot, despite the immensely temperate British climate. You look at a man who is clearly divided, not in loyalty, but perhaps in morality. It looks during your time in court around him as if he will march to the beat of whatever Uther says, but he may not like it, and he may not believe in it. You sit down across from you sit down across from Roderick, who turns to look and acknowledge you with somewhat hollow eyes, dark circles haunting them, and nods towards you.
My lord, my apologies. I actually came. It's nothing. I came seeking to have you help me calm my resolve, but I can see that I feel the same issues vex your mind too.
What troubles you, Gwgan?
Well, I mean, isn't it obvious? 2 years ago, calm heads prevailed. The kingdom stood united, and last year we had our greatest victory against Saxons ever. Now, less than a year later, we are apparently going to war against our fellow Britons once more. I don't understand how this happens.
I am unsurprised that we would go to war with other Britons. It is a thing that happens more often than we would like. But I am acquaintances with Duke Orleans. It is certainly a breach of courtesy to leave the court, but I am not unsympathetic to his reasons for it. I think we are all chafing here at this extended stay. There are some who say that their loyalty is a chain, which goes both ways. And a chain is forged by the first link. If there is any weakness in any link, the chain is as easily broken by that link as by any other. When we neglect, when those at the top of the chain neglect those further down, when those further down weaken as a result of neglect, the whole chain suffers. I would never question the king. I only question that perhaps he is poorly advised. Just to be clear, he is questioning the king, but he does not want to commit treason by saying so.
I had occasion to speak briefly with Gorlois and his lady wife at London before they left. He asked me questions about Merlin.
As I said, there are some who wonder if the king is ill-advised. What do you know of the wizard Merlin?
I've had little to do with him. Obviously, my brothers encountered him, as did my cousin, before his death. But Merlin has spoken with me once, and his words were enigmatic, to say the least. He seemed to ask me questions about my cousin like he'd never met him, yet he was there at his death. But I don't understand. I mean, he's not the sort of person I would usually seek counsel with in any case.
I once had a conversation with Merlin where he told me a story about a pigeon owned by a man named Franz Ferdinand. Truly a ridiculous name. And how the journey of that pigeon throughout the sides of the country being torn apart by a war which became a great war, a war in which the whole world was involved, was somehow meaningful. And I thought, this is a madman, a man who imagines an entire world at war, something not even Rome could accomplish. For the borders are yet ill-defined under the light of God, and yet he spoke with such certainty about the journey of this pigeon.
Interesting. Well, Shrewton will obviously do its duty, but I've ridden into many battles for this country driven by passion. I don't think that I will feel any passion. I will fight with all of my might, but I think that my heart will be in conflict.
I find many knights lately are not able to voice such concerns with the same conviction as you. Many find themselves drawn to defending Uther, perhaps even against their own words in the past. Do you not feel the same call? And just in practical terms, what he's saying is that almost everyone has been magically influenced to have loyalty to Uther.
Yeah. I don't question the king. The king has made decisions that I would not have made in the same place, but I'm not king, he is. I believe only 6 months ago we were well on our way to having a combined collegiate that would declare one true king of Britain. I can't imagine that the kings would regard the current situation with Gorlois well. I feel that we've taken a step back, and I can only voice my concerns. I can't point the finger, or it's not Christian to make accusations. But I still feel what I feel in my heart.
I would say this. Wherever we were 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, it doesn't matter. The College of Legates cannot move forward as long as a traitor stands among them, corrupting the vote. You know that in my heart, I will vote for Uther. And it is clear that Gorlo will influence many against Uther, as many as he can. Our enemies are numerous, so numerous, and filled with the power of blood and of the dark god Wotan and the sacrifice and lust they feel for him. We cannot fall to external enemies. Even the Romans were defeated by time while Britain endured. But a house divided against itself cannot stand. The wood is rotting, and we must replace the supports.
If I've got a cup, I hold my cup up.
Okay.
Then we pray for unity.
He will also pray for unity to a Christian God. It is through our faiths that we will prevail.
Thank you for your time, my
Thank
lord.
you.
I will need to vanish.
That seems unlikely, but very well. So what happens is Gwgan begins to step away, and then you hear the sound of a rice door sliding open. And he will flicker 3 times, and then he'll disappear, apparently. He said it, not me, man. Specifically said the words ninja vanish, right? You're muted, Spoon.
There's just a puff of smoke and there's a log there. The substitution jutsu.
Who's next on talking to your favorite NPCs around the world and trying to earn checks?
I would like to speak with Prince Maddock.
Very well. You have several opportunities to speak with Maddock, and it is clear to everyone in the court that Maddock and Uther are not in agreement about this thing. It is so rare. Uther and Maddock were totally united in fucking over the French and fucking over Sir Agrius. They were toasting each other. They were giving each other gifts. that sort of familiar bond is so rare, and it's so much rarer to see Matic part with his father. And perhaps as Crown Prince, he's the only one who can openly oppose Uther. He has not openly done so, but it is clear that in private, their arguments are many, tempestuous, and legendary in both their length and in their favor. Words like priorities and properties are being thrown around. The whole court is talking about it. So when you meet with Matic, he is of a mood. The kind of mood of a man who is trying to keep a country together in spite of a king who would divide. He doesn't even seem to recognize you when you approach him.
My prince?
Sir?
I understand that things are tense. We're on the brink of war.
We are at the brink of war. We prepare to march in a few days. Do you know of Sarum?
I'm from there, my lord. I'm from Salisbury.
You will be released in a few days. The whole country will be preparing to march upon Sarum. Have your troops ready to meet there. We will show Cornwall what they deserve.
Very well, my prince. We will answer when you call.
Was there something else?
It shows your character in the decisions you have made.
He just kind of nods, looking wistfully somewhere else. Maybe someplace else.
Wherever you ride in this war, I will ride along with you.
All right. The minor key version of the Friends theme song begins playing as a thunderstorm begins beating down in the background as you're like, I'll be there for you. Matic turns and seems to recognize you at this moment and says, yes, you would do well to ride with me, Sir Kendric. I would be honored to have the Mad Bear of Pitton at my side. Did you bring your hammer with you, or must you stop at home on your way to Sarah?
I carry it with me, my prince.
Very well. Then I will have no excuse for you being delayed in reaching muster.
Of course.
There will be no berserkers on the field of battle to stop us. It will simply be the young knights, the strongest knights. It will be a glorious battle, a time for us to make our names.
It will be. And so we shall.
I just want to have, listen, if this was a TV show, there would 100% be flash forwards of like Kendric covered in blood, like Matic with a dislocated jaw, just like a field full of knights of both sides with flies buzzing over them and spears jutting out of the ground with people attached to them. Just
total carnage.
NCIS style black and white flash forward.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. But we cut back to the two of you doing the Predator Man shake.
For sure.
While the minor key, very powerful version of the Friends theme song plays. Okay. Does anyone... I think we can get one more in before we take a break. Yep, Glimo, you've raised your hand, so I appreciate that. We're not at school, but okay.
I would like to meet with Jaredin.
You would like to meet with Jaredin. Just to be clear, you mean Jaredin, not Baradin, whose name sounds very similar, but no one remembers who he is.
Yes, I mean the super secret assassin that no one's supposed to know about, Jaredin.
Yeah, so Jaredin's actually having a great time. He's killed at least a dozen enemies of Uther. People will go out on walks with him and just disappear. He'll be like, hey, we should, go down to the market. Maybe we can find some peasants to beat up. And then the knight disappears. People who are critical of Uther, who speak openly of it, people who are Knights of Salisbury who express concern with the Earl about his leadership and choice to follow Uther through this. I mean, the thing about letting a psychopath with nothing to lose become your assassin is that he is looking for any excuse to bait people into a situation where the rules of engagement will allow him to kill them. So he is not a clever man, but he is rapidly learning to become a clever man, to indulge in his hobby of murdering people and being able to legally get away with it, more or less.
So I'm assuming that by the time I have this meeting, that Kendric has passed on the word that muster is coming soon, and we're going to be going past our lands.
Sure.
Yeah, and so also he also would have let the two of you know that he has sworn to follow the prince wherever he goes.
Fair enough.
So Jaredin is basically peacocking around your quarters. I feel like perhaps you it's a room that you share with 3 other knights, and you guys basically rotate. Like 2 of you sleep in half the night, and the other 2 sleep the other half of the night, and you kind of take a lot of naps during the day, sort of deal. Yeah, hot swapping bunks for sure, absolutely. Jaredin is peacocking around the room. He just got another kill last night on someone who was spreading word from one of the northern courts that Uther was lusting after. So, like, someone from Somerset was like, I heard that Uther was lusting after the Duchess of Grain, and that's what caused all of this. It is Uther who is the unchivalrous and inhospitable one, wanting to be lustful after another man's wife. That person, they were found in some nets in London Bay this morning. Some fishermen brought them back in. No armor, no money on them. The local constabulary are basically just like, we don't need to investigate this. Knights get drunk and fall in the water from time to time and can't swim. However, this night
tripped over and fell into his knife 6 times.
Yeah, exactly. This knight was accounted to be, his name was Sir Herawd, and he was accounted to be an excellent swimmer. Actually, his estates are quite close to yours, Herawd. While you were learning boating, you caught sight of him, a impressively lionly physiqued man, just huge bushy mane, a beard, wide shock of blonde hair, now silvery and gray, but when you were younger, he was just swimming up and down that river like crazy. Doing some breaststrokes and all sorts of crazy shit. Now he's older. The story is that he didn't know how to swim. He knew how to swim. He knew how to swim like a fish.
Knows exactly what's what.
Yeah, you know the truth. So yeah, you're to some extent Jaredin's handler. Jaredin is just basically reporting on yet another success and eliminating traitorous influence from the court in shocking detail.
Well, I'll tell you, good hunting, my friend. You've served our liege lord and our king well over the last month.
There are many who should remain silent and do not.
I feel like we may have an opportunity to put the Yuletide problems behind us again soon. We march soon to our homelands and then on to Tintagel.
He steps next to you and wraps an arm around your shoulder. It's clear that you want to have a conversation with him. He wants to have a conversation with you, but on a different subject. So what I need to know is, are you continuing to go ahead, or are you waiting to hear what he has to say?
I'll wait till what he has to say. I mean,
you know, my friend,
but
I agreed to be your sword arm if you would help me with the intellectual pursuits.
Absolutely.
Sir Will is dead. His daughter will be inheriting many of his manors. I am in need of a wife. Is there any chance you could help me get the hookup there in court? Maybe speak to the Earl? Maybe have your wife speak to her? It would be great for my reputation if I were to marry Will's daughter. It would help also if someone could tell me what her name was.
I can certainly put in a good word with the Earl. Feel like that you taking a wife would certainly help to take some of the spotlight off of your other adventures.
I would like you to roll fairy lore real quick.
Can I use Honor Among Fae?
I will say yes, because if you do, I mean, it doesn't, it gives you a 50% increase for sure. Yeah.
So I have to roll under a 3.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you roll,
not even a little bit.
Not, I mean, if you rolled a 3, it would be great for you. Yeah, no, he's, I mean, he's acting weird, but no more weird than he normally acts recently.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since his injury, he's been getting worse, for sure.
I shall certainly put in a good word, and we'll, you know as well as I that we're not free to make our own decisions, but I will certainly see what our Earl has to say.
Of course.
Now, I would, from the more intellectual side, you've certainly shown a lot of ambition about accidents that happen on the campaign, and we're going to be moving soon.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like accidents might happen as our friend makes his way back to Silchester.
He turns and pivots, putting a hand on his hip and looking at you in like a 3/4 turn profile sort of deal. And he says, is there some friend that needs to have an accident?
I was just thinking that we could put to bed what we tried to do at Yule.
Ah, I understand now. You're speaking of our good friend, Sir Blaine's.
I know that he has been a thorn in the side of Roderick for quite some time, and more so of late.
It would be a shame if he were to get lost on the path, dishonoring his family when he didn't show up to muster.
We're of one mind, then.
I'll need to get permission to leave early. I'll speak with the Earl tomorrow.
And I'll speak with him as well, on a different matter.
On my matter?
Of course.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. You wouldn't happen to know her name, would you?
Does Herawd know? Glimo doesn't know.
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you actually pay attention to the other young ladies at court?
You make a recognize roll?
With an intrigue as high as mine, yes, he does.
Okay. I feel like recognize is a reasonable ask here.
Oh shit, I can't do that.
Well,
can I roll intrigue instead?
No, you can roll recognize. Just ask for the power of God in anime.
Nope.
No. Yeah, you don't know her name. I mean, you're married. You have a great relationship with your wife.
Close, but no cigar.
Yeah. You can give him the wrong name. How about that? You think that her name is something like Harriet or something suitably British.
Yes, she looks like a whatever. She looks like a Judy. That's it. There you go.
Okay. We have come up to our first break, and when we return, we'll probably have more machinations that will lay detected. Just remember.
Machinations, even.
Yeah. Just remember, while you're taking your break, if you and your friends are riding off to war, make sure you seal the deal by taking a shit together. Hello, friends. We've returned for the middle part, which is like the first and third part, but in between them. We are the meat of the sandwich, but also the lettuce, the mayonnaise, dare I say it, the Dijon mustard. What you want to do?
Rod would like to send messages to his wife with the intelligence that he knows, as well as, the request of Jaredin to, try to get her take on it before he goes and talks to Roderick.
Oh boy, I'm gonna let it slide. Just go ahead. No, you know what? I actually do want to know. Are your letters like normal letters, or do we see the letters in a sort of ghostly, transparent background image while we hear you narrating the letters Civil War style? I want to know.
Oh, it's
my
it's
dearest
definitely...
wife. Today I find myself walking the battlements for the 80th time since I have arrived here in London.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely Ken Burns style. And you'll see him with the quill, but then it's like Pigpen cipher.
Oh yeah, perfect. So we see the contents of the letter in the background, but they make no sense to us while we listen to the voiceover.
Exactly.
All right, what would you like to send your wife?
So he's going to, detail the conversation he had with Ufius, detail that we're going to be heading soon by home and then on to Cornwall. And also that, Jaredin's holding his own in his new role and seeks to marry perhaps above his station, and would this lady that Herawd cannot remember her name be a good fit in her mind, or is there perhaps someone more suitable?
Roll your wife's spy roll.
Success.
I am going to tell you the same thing that Spoon told Chat. I don't agree with what he said, but it is a poignant insight. Allowing Jaredin to marry her will allow Jaredin to jump to being a banneret. which lets him skip several levels of knighthood and become a extremely powerful person politically immediately. Not just powerful, but also very wealthy. Is she a good match for him? Like, socially? Your wife doesn't believe so. She is a quiet, unassuming woman, not unlike herself. Jaredin has gone from being a kind of boastful Chad bro jock gym guy to being a truly broken, insanely ravenous in his anger, rampaging sociopathic murderer. I think that you're starting to learn that your wife doesn't like Jaredin. Mm-hmm. I think during your time in London, your wife's opinion, like, you're like, Jaredin killed somebody else today, and like, yeah, he did kill, yeah, he killed her dad for sure, and may eventually brag about it to her. Like, she's like, under no circumstances should Jaredin be allowed to marry this girl. He will almost certainly be forced to kill her at some point when he accidentally reveals that he murdered her father. He seems like the kind of man who would be very boastful in bed if I did not already know that he was a virgin.
Sir Jaredin does not fuck.
He doesn't fuck. He's famous for it. The first thing we learned about him was that he wanted Herawd's help so that Herawd could help find him a wife. He is a Christian man in his own way. He's saving himself for marriage. And he's driven by rampaging, fueled by a lust for murder. Yeah, I mean, your wife doesn't hold back at all. She doesn't like Jaredin. She thinks that he's dangerous and increasingly... But I think on the other side of that, like, after she lets out all of her emotion in the first 2/3 of the letter, the last third is, on the other hand, it's probably a good idea to get some form of control over him before he truly loses himself. And manipulating his wife may be the last resort that, oh my God. Chat. Okay, you know what, chat? No, just no. Laugh it up, fuzzballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, your wife is making, now that she's let her emotions out, she's making the cold calculation that if Jaredin can be controlled by the seat of his pants, maybe it would be a good idea.
I love the way she clearly writes stream of consciousness. Like, she writes one argument, then writes the counter argument, rather than thinking about it, just writing the
writing the decision. Yeah.
Sorry, apparently we've established that she communicates the same way I do in letters.
Yeah.
Scary. I shouldn't let that trait out into the world. But yeah, she makes sure to elucidate both points, that Jaredin is a tremendous asset and also will almost certainly... He does not have the same level of control. Like, for him, it's not a job. It's a calling and a passion. And his predecessor was just like, well, I killed a man. It had to be done. Go back home.
Okay. I would like to have a scene with Roderick, but if either one of you want to go first, I don't need to go two in a row.
Sorry, am I crazy in thinking that your wife is the daughter of the last assassin knight?
Yes.
That's correct, right? Yeah,
that is correct.
Yeah, so her letter is from that point of view, that, like, her dad, did this as a job.
Not as good as my dad did.
Yeah, she's like, he's too passionate about it. Like, my dad just did it because it was something Earl Roderick demanded of him, and he was good at it. Jaredin does it because he wants to, and that makes him dangerous. But we do need to keep him under control, as long, like, he's gone too far down this path, and we have no way of controlling him. If we manipulate a wife, it doesn't have to be her, but it could be her. If we manipulate a wife, we may be able to get him back under control.
Very well.
I mean, part of this letter is her and her own emotions, and part of it is the fact that she is a spy master and daughter of an assassin and a knight. Like, half of it is emotional and half of it is cynically cold. All of it, however, points to Jaredin being a problem that will require a future solution as equally violent as he is.
I'm good with you taking 2 in a row, Glimo. Like, that's fine.
I mean, I found the problem with having a character who doesn't like to gossip or involve themselves in intrigue is that.
Sheesh, don't worry, you'll be dead soon. I've seen the show before. You'll be dead soon.
And then I'll be back.
Yeah. I also have a scene regarding this situation, but I'm coming at it from a different angle, I think.
Incredible. I love that Jaredin has become the center point of an episode about Gorlo and Uther. Amazing. Gorlo and Uther are the backdrop to the real story, a human story.
About murder and death.
I mean, it's 491. Every story in this year is going to be about murder. Yeah, so, Glimo, are you going again?
Sure.
What's the next scene?
See Earl Roderick.
Okay. You go to see Earl Roderick. Roderick is holding court in a small, exterior building to the castle that has been given to Salisbury. It's essentially ostensibly for privacy so that they can carry out the workings of their court. But there's so many Londonian peasants going in and out of here that anything discussed will almost certainly make its way back to the court of Uther. It's a practical discussion about who is ready to go to war and those who are not ready to ride, why not, and what do they need to be made ready. Armor cleaned, swords made fresh and oiled, armor prepared, etc., etc. He turns to look at you because you look like you have something to say, and he says, "Sir Herawd, you something to say, have you?"
Can we walk a bit and talk?
Let's take 5, everyone. We'll come back fresh. Look at it with new eyes. He gives them all the Jack Aubrey crazy eye stare, and then stands up and goes to walk with you.
I have 2 bits of interesting news, and I'm not sure which is more concerning.
Before you begin, Sir Herawd, it is known that it is bad for one to kill the messenger, but it would be nice to occasionally get good news rather than dire omens. Puts a hand on your shoulder and says, "Sometimes the people in charge want solutions, not problems."
I wish for better days, my lord.
I understand. Hit me with it.
I do come to you with solutions, but I want you, as my liege lord, to have all of the information and make your own decision. I would dare not direct you.
Of course. As we all know, it is truly treasonous to, what does Shapes call it again? Manage up. It's treason to manage up in these times. It'll be like, I don't know, 1,500 years before that's acceptable.
I have spoken with Duke Ufius. He says, Ufius. Right. He is quite concerned about what may happen in Kent with Octus being raised to king.
So it'd be difficult for Octus to do very much, given that he is in our gowls, but yes, he is the new king of Kent.
There's worry that there may be skirmishing upon our borders to either get Octus back or some other thing. I know that You and I are not allowed to quit the field, but it may be wise for us to muster our reserves upon our eastern border.
I am afraid we are given no leave to do such things. Whatever troops we have are to muster for the push on Tintagel.
Have we no leave to protect our own with our home garrisons?
Such talk is the kind of talk that got Gorlo in trouble.
Fair enough, my lord.
He was always
Yes,
complaining about the Irish.
Passing on the concerns of our...
Of course, but what cannot be done, cannot be done.
You know better than I.
It is the way of things.
I also have some concern about Jaredin. I love the man. I understand the need for the role that he fills, perhaps better than most, given that my father-in-law held the same at one point. He seems to take more pleasure than duty in the act, and I worry that unchecked that may cause problems down the line.
What would
Perhaps-
you have done?
Perhaps marrying him off might help keep him in check.
Okay, make a courtesy roll. On behalf of Jared.
And I call upon a passion for this.
You're going to have to tell me what passion it is.
Loyalty Lord.
Explain to me how giving Jaredin a wife will serve your lord.
Well, I'm trying to make sure that Jaredin going... I'm trying to keep Jaredin from going psychotic and thus causing dishonor to my lord.
Okay. I will let you roll this as long as you are under the recognition that you are literally a day away from embarking on a major military campaign. And that if you become maddened and wander off, people are going to be pissed.
Well, I can't. I shouldn't be able to be maddened because it's not a.
Okay. I mean,
Boone
I
is
think
talking on mute.
critical failure may cause
Sorry.
problems, but
It's a if you fumble. The only way I think you can go maddened here is
if you fumble,
it,
you become melancholy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just don't roll a 20.
I did not roll a 20.
Okay. You can add your +5 to the roll.
Excellent. That makes it almost 50-50. I needed that +5.
You speak for a time eloquently on behalf of Jaredin and lay out reasons that your lord should indeed give this man a wife. And at the end of the conversation, he says, "Did you have anyone in mind?"
I feel like it should be someone a bit more meek that we can exercise control through, should that become necessary, through our wives.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I am
Remember,
absolutely
guys, remember,
not...
we're playing a period drama, and this is a tabletop role-playing game. This is not our real, actual opinions. I just want to make sure that when we get clipped...
We're this is the year 491.
Yeah, she's meek so that he can exercise control over her. All right, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's really dark for... I'm going to tell you what your lord's reaction to this is. You see on his face that he had concerns about Jaredin. He now has similar concerns about you because of what you're doing on behalf of Jaredin.
Fair enough.
You get a sort of dismissiveness from him that indicates that he will think on this and he will attempt to choose someone. Of course, Jaredin will have to reach out during the winter phase to ask for permission to marry, as any of you have in the past. But that it will probably be someone along the lines that you have said. It will be favorable towards Jaredin. However, it is clear that your lord has just concerns about both of your behavior now.
Fair enough.
Sir Jaredin asked to scout ahead today for our path and will be sending reports back. Is there anything I should know?
He's doing his duty in your service, my lord.
Very well. You're not going to tell him about...
Nope.
Okay.
Right after invoking loyalty, Lord, you lie to your Lord.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what he does is he awards you with a medal, but he pins it directly to your flesh. Okay.
In Herawd's mind, he is being very loyal here.
Yeah, well, your lord may not agree with that, but sometimes advisors must act in the best interests of the prince. Herawd is the proto-Machiavelli.
Mm-hmm. I have built him as nothing less for the 12 prior sessions.
Yeah, I mean, Herawd is definitely the...
I don't think this is off-brand.
yeah. He's definitely the, like, covert agent knight of the group, for sure.
Okay. What scene comes next?
Can I take a check in courtesy?
Oh, no, specifically because you are outrightly and obviously betraying your lord.
I mean, okay.
You can listen, you got your check for loyalty, Lord, and be pleased with that. Courtesy.
Actually not, but that's okay.
Do what?
I'm actually not pleased because if I take another check in it, that might then it becomes
16 plus.
That's okay. You'd have to actually roll well for that to happen. And I've been playing Blood Bowl lately. No one rolls well. If there are no other scenes, we shall proceed. We step forward in time. There is a mustering at Sarum. Famously not present to the point of upsetting Duke Ufius is one Sir Blaine's. Quietly, it is remarked upon that Sir Jaredin is also not present among the Knights of Salisbury. Neither of them have been seen in the last week, and the last anyone had heard of Jaredin was his scouting reports, which ended abruptly somewhere west of Levkemagus.
They're currently fighting through the core of the earth, like the Balrog and either Sir Blaine's the White or Sir Jaredin the White will emerge later on.
I don't think Blaine's the White has already emerged.
I don't think that Balrogs can be anointed by the earth spirits to becoming an infinite immortal being.
Yeah, but I don't know which one's the Balrog or which one's Gandalf, though, in that particular equation.
I'm pretty sure Blaine's is definitely the Gandalf. Not that he's Gandalf-like, but if you're looking for an analogy, he's the only one in this conversation that gets close. Hey, let me say this. I've seen how Gandalf looks at who's the elf queen? Galadriel. There's no way that he's a virgin like Jaredin. 0% chance. Gandalf fucks for sure.
Yeah.
I would say this, by the way. When I watched the movie, I had read the books, but the books are dense and difficult to understand for teenagers, and it was not clear to me that Gandalf was there at the beginning of existence and was actually a nearly immortal, impossible to kill angel being. So when the movies were like, and Galadriel and Gandalf are kicking it off, I'm like, ooh, she's like 3,000 years older than him. And now I'm like, ooh, he's like all of existence older than her.
I mean,
really,
fair, if you've only read the 4 books, you don't have that information.
Yeah, you wouldn't get that Silmarillion.
It had nothing to do with the fact that she was like a mid-30s looking Kate Blanchett and he was like a mid-50s looking Ian McKellen.
Well, you know how it is. In Tolkien, everybody just doesn't look their age. I remember when someone was like, so they said the Mithril looked like it was fit for an elven prince. There's only been one elven prince in Middle Earth. Are these Legolas's baby clothes? Uther marches his army upon Cornwall. He is hasty, not even waiting for all of his men to arrive. He leaves orders for other contingents to follow as soon as possible. This is seen as insane. To not march with your whole army, to just leave a string of unsupported logistic trains behind you. Yeah, it is hasty and crazy. He rides out and surrounds Terrabil, and the Duke will not fight in the field. He's divided his army to defend 2 strategic castles, Tintagel on the coast and Terrabil at a road junction inlands. His treasure and his wife are at Tintagel. His maid army is at Terrabil, ready to sally forth and strike the king in the rear if he turns toward the treasure storage. King Uther sends 3/4 of his forces to besiege Terrabil and the rest to Tintagel.
And where are we?
It's a great question. Would you like to go to Terrabil or Tintagel?
Sir Kendric has sworn to follow Prince Maddox, so he will go to Terrabil.
Terrabil, then. What about the rest of you?
Oh, I think we stay together.
Yep.
You have found yourself in an interesting situation. Prince Maddox is being surrounded by a group calling themselves the Young Wolves, or the Young Wolves of Maddox. These are people who have titles like Baron or Banneret Knight. Knights who are particularly famous. Knights whose names that you knew and perhaps even grew up with to some extent. They have formed a wall around Maddox to prevent other less worthy people from joining their band of his partially bodyguards, but also partially entourage.
So it's a high school clique.
Yes, it's a high school clique. I was trying not to be really specific, but yes. They have formed a fan club, if we want to get really, really specific. And membership would not normally be extended to Kendric the Mad Bear.
I was just about to say, well, they have wolves. We have a bear. I think we win.
I'm curious if there's anything you would do to prove yourself to the group, or if you would perhaps just simply force your way through their line to ride with the prince. In what way do you approach this situation? Because these people are not ostensibly, literally your social betters.
Yeah.
Many of them are more glorious than you, and all of them are more famous.
I think.
And none of this is Maddox doing, by the way. These people have taken this upon themselves.
Formed around him. Yeah.
If we were at Tintagel, I'd have my Yonglers serenade our way in.
Can I test prudent versus reckless to see how I would approach this?
I will let you start with a reckless.
Okay.
Because it's funny. And also because you're called the Mad Bear.
So I barely fail reckless.
Okay.
And then prudent. also barely fails. Okay.
You may choose how you would act.
So is there anyone in this group that I would like have any sort of like acquaintanceship with that I could like use them as like an in?
I don't think so. I think
No?
that they are hardcore like London Knights.
Gotcha.
They are people who grew up around Madoc or have been around him enough to be part of his now inner circle. I don't think your opportunities to interact with them have been very... You know what? Actually, you rolled a critical hunting check. I will say yes.
So I think I would basically kind of lever myself into their company through that. Probably several of them went on hunts of mine when I was in London. And then I will like basically kind of courtesy or like he's not bulling the China shopping this, but he's also not like intriguing his way through it. It's just like, hey, I deserve to be here, even though I am not a baron and not as famous as you guys. I'm still just as badass.
Interesting. Is it called Bachelor Knight? That's a slightly above a regular knight.
Baronet would be above us. Bachelor's below us because we're.
Bachelor has no lands.
Yeah, Bachelor has no lands.
Yeah.
Vassal Knight is what we are.
Yeah, so he's a
or
knight.
Vavasseurs.
Yeah, so he's like a knight lord. This person you're speaking to.
Banneret would be the next step above us.
I mean, you could also be the same as us, but have a title, like, you know,
Yes.
Castellan or
I think that this person is called Sir Haya. He is the son of a Saxon. And he is known as the White. So he is Sir Haya the White. He's called that because there was a winter where he dressed himself in white wolf fur and waited in the snows of the north of Lincoln, and would pop out and like drag a Saxon down into the snow with him, kill them, and then like get on a horse, ride to a new area, and just keep like surprising Saxons out of... It wasn't considered honorable, but killing Saxons is also not considered dishonorable. You know what I mean? He basically earned a knighthood through reckless and rampant murder, and he's kind of chilled by now. Mm-hmm. So I think that he is like he's probably has several manners. He's on the verge of becoming a banneret. And only by the fame of his story has he made the cut here. He will vouch for you if you ask it of him, but also if you want to make an appeal.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, as we're riding on campaign, I think you know, Sir Kendric is riding beside him, and we're just, you know, kind of shooting the shit and, you know, swapping war stories. And Kendric will bring up the time that he killed the giant with his compatriots, Sir Owain and Sir Herawd.
Interesting. I would like you to check pride.
Okay.
I don't mean put a check of pride. I mean make a pride roll.
Make a pride roll. Okay.
Yes.
That is a success.
Now you can check pride.
Okay.
Put a check. Oh my God. You can put a check in pride.
Yeah.
Check
pride after I've tested pride.
Yes, correct. Are we going a level up or a level down? We're going down a level, and we level up when we go down a level.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough being an adventurer going subterranean. You boast of your accomplishments, and this group here, this is their weakness. This is the way in.
Yeah.
These people would unironically describe themselves as alpha in the here and now, and someone who intimidates them with stories that they will almost certainly, if they think they can get away with it, slightly change and then tell themselves.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I think that like there's a banneret who's just like, oh, for real, dude? For real. Okay.
For real.
You're in the Young Wolves. All right, come here.
I know the way that we followed Kendric to this battle, you know, and then he immediately goes and joins a different social club.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, hey guys, cool. I'm gonna go over here and ride with these guys for a little while. We're still super tight though.
Yeah, go ahead and roll 3d6 for loyalty Young Wolves.
Okay.
Oh
13.
my god.
That is higher than your.
No. It is one lower than my loyalty Order of the Axe.
Oh, okay.
So you meet plenty of the Young Wolves. Sir Chad,
Sir Bradicus.
Sir Bradicus, Sir Chadicus, the second Sir Chad, Sir Chad the Little, James, Jim,
Sir Kevin.
Yeah, Sir Kevin.
I'm sorry, Sir Kyle.
Some guy named Chaz. You're not even sure if that guy's a knight. He just kind of hangs around. It's a different world being with the Young Wolves. You are now like the lowest socially ranked person in one of the highest circles in the land with, you know, you get you get the ear of Leonardo DiCaprio for a couple of minutes a day, right?
Yeah.
People see you as someone who could talk to Matic about their problems. And so you have become someone in the... As camp is set up here in Terrible, it's terrible here. It's fucking awful. Everyone is aware that you're going to be spending all summer here. You could be here for years. Everyone is bored by like the end of the first week. A quick fight is not going to happen. As much as Uther is trying to bait out the Duke, he is a patient old man. Uther cannot make this guy move. He's been preparing for a siege by the Irish for his entire life. He is totally prepared for a siege by his countrymen. It's boring here. It's actually worse than London because at least in London you had a nice bed to sleep in and a full set of peasants to work for you. Now, the lowest ranked knights are doing the jobs the servants would have been doing, and you have no creature comforts. So you get to do the George jobs for the Young Wolves. But on the other hand, you have access to Prince Matic to the point that he regularly recalls your name and has conversations with you so that one day you can do a Jack Aubrey crazy eye at someone and say that you had a conversation with Nelson.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just for him to ask you to pass the salt.
Yeah. And like, well, so because we're here for a while, right?
Yes.
So there's probably like a weekly dinner.
No, we have the first day you arrive with the Young Wolves. Then we have a week later and you look a little more haggard. Then it just says like 3 months later, you have like a full beard now. Your hair is longer. It's less well kept. You look much better tanned. You look kind of toned and buffed now. For some reason, you have sunglasses on. Indoors in the tent. That's how we tell time has passed, is that your hair has gotten longer.
Yeah.
Herawd. Oh my god, those are what the fuck? That's crazy, dude.
The deal with it sunglasses.
You got to get some way to have them drop them. Those are really good, though. A love of volleyball. All right. Well, now you're trying to Top Gun me, and that's not where I'm going with this. Look, guys, I'm trying to keep us in high school here. Not the U.S. Navy. Anything from you, Gwgan and Herawd, as you arrive here and are immediately abandoned by your closest friend and longest living member?
Is there anyone that we know other than the three of us at our
It's your
squires?
boy! Merlin's up in the house at Terrible!
Yeah, won't be going there.
Yeah.
Herawd would go and meet with Merlin at some point.
All right, you hear Merlin speaking with some random knights, telling some sort of story about a pigeon in some place called Austria, which you've never heard of.
I feel like my liege lord told me of this story.
But Merlin immediately dismisses the other knights and is like, oh, Herawd. He gives you a weird look and says, I didn't think I'd see you here.
Lord Druid,
What a surprise.
I didn't think I'd be here either, but times are what they are. And I am ever in service.
I'm concerned. I'm worried that Duke Gorlo may evacuate to Tintagel through a land battle, or that there may be some attempt to sail from Tintagel. There's one thing that I've learned over my long experience with the British. It's that they are just really dead set on evacuating soldiers via boats. Just happens so often, usually from the continent, but sometimes to the continent.
How may I serve?
Cool.
I have some men inside of Tintagel. I could perhaps get some messages in and out. It's been iffy, but I have gotten communications in and out a few times over the last several months.
Let me remind you that he spontaneously generates roses around him at any given moment. He pours you some rose tea and says, "Let me show you what I can serve you." Occasionally, he fills the pot with more water to let it get to boil and just lets some of the roses fall into it. Just give it some scenting. You have assets placed inside Tintagel that you believe can be useful?
I have a troop of Yongalers. They are good at ferreting out information.
Yes, you always have been reliant on entertainers.
They can move about freely, and everyone suspects them, but no one suspects them. And I do love the dancing.
Do you truly... Well, first off, I want to say you've never actually met them. You hired them remotely. Your wife hired them on your behalf. You've never even met these people.
You know, I'm just fondly thinking of Andre, and you know, hoping that Baden lives up to it. But
old Andre the Younger, yes, of course.
Yes.
Old Andre the Younger has been replaced by Sir Chad the Little. In my heart,
God, no.
in my heart. If you believe that you need to ride to Tintagel and more closely affect a messaging service, I believe that you should petition to do so now and may attach my name to it.
Very well, my lord. I hate to leave my compatriots, but
I'm not ordering you to do so. You may do so. I would be loath to see such a brotherhood fall, although if I recall, the cracks are already forming.
I do have falcons that I could send.
I will be honest with you. There is a pretty good chance that if you send a falcon, our own side will shoot it down before it can get in the castle. Also, falcons are notoriously bad messenger birds.
I feel like we established that Herawd has messenger birds.
Yeah, but they're all dead. They're going to be dead if you send them to Tintagel. They will be shot down. By both sides. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out. What will you do? Will you stay or will you go now? If you go, there will be trouble.
There will be trouble. If I stay, it may be doubled.
It's not often that I meet someone who knows what I'm going to say.
Was a line that old Andre the Younger taught me once.
He seems to be such a strange man for me to have never met him. Will there be anything else, Sir Herawd?
Oh, my lord, let me speak with my men and I will alert you of my decision.
Sir Gwgan! What's going on with you? Otherwise, I've got a scene for you.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I don't really have other than my actual allies who are both up and fucked off. I don't really have that many friends in court. So,
it has been noted that your usual friends have fucked off, but you have gained
I only
some.
fucked off for 5 minutes. I didn't fuck off for 3 weeks.
You might be writing to Terrible. Get started.
No, you're at Terrible. He's writing to Tintagel.
Okay, nice.
It's been terrible writing to Terrible. I mean,
yeah, but otherwise, like, I don't know whether the army rides with priests, but if not,
that's what I was going to say. Is that you found yourself drawn into a group of knights who all recognize each other as being like, it was our prayers that brought Gorlo and Uther together.
Yep.
If we pray hard enough now, our prayers will reach the Lord and peace will come once again. Gorlo will bow before the Duke. Our faith must be wavering. We must all believe. Sir Gwgan, do you believe? Someone looks at you with wild eyes and is like holding your hand with both of his hands. He goes, do you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ?
I would totally join a prayer circle, and I'll go like tent to tent with someone else, like trying to recruit more people for the. For the prayer circle. Now
we're gonna make a roll. I love the idea of you going tent to tent. It's so annoying. Just imagine being on the worst military march of your whole life.
White collared shirt with a backpack.
Do you have pamphlets?
You have been trapped over winter for 6 months, hearing that you're going to start a war against an ally. You finally get out there. You have nothing. You have no fortifications. You have no supplies. Weird people from across the country arrive every day and you don't know who they are. I would like you to roll spiritual to start with, for sure.
Okay. No worries. Success.
Oh, okay. Check that. I would also like you to roll, I think, orate.
Right. No worries.
Are you good at orate by any chance?
I'm not fantastic at it, no, but I'll still roll anyway because I like being bad at talking doesn't stop a lot of people from talking. So.
Oh, James, that hurts. Oh my god!
Oh my god!
It hurts twice as hard, James, for you to preface with that. I feel so seen by that, and then you follow it up by critting. What are you doing, man? All right, go ahead and check it. You know. Look, you're unsure if your message will be heard around the camp. And it's not like your message is we shouldn't fight for our lives or anything like that. It's just, should we pray for them? Should we pray on their behalf? Should we pray that Gorlo sees things better nature? And you start, listen, there are pagans that convert. There's at least one pagan who asks to be baptized by you when he hears the passion of your fury against this situation. You're not like, fuck the king, what are we doing here? But you're like, could there not be peace between brothers?
That's it. You
The
know,
prodigal son could return.
I know you love Beltane, but have you seen Easter? It's the same time, and it's the same thing, just with chocolate instead of fucking.
Have you heard about this guy from Turkey named Nicholas? You have become... I feel like the priests have noticed you for sure. And you have become something of a favored son among the camp. Your shit doesn't stink. You are invited to the tables of people of refinement to speak and to give. They ask you to give the blessing before meals. You have found yourself in a similar situation to Kendric, but rather than being given the George jobs, you're invited to places because you're a good speaker and a famous speaker, and they ask you to give the blessing for the meal, and then you sit at the end of the table and maybe you get involved in the small talk, but you find yourself involved in the councils of people far above you because they want you to give the blessing. You're the blessing guy.
So I know we're not going to finish this session, but remind me when we get to XP.
We're not even going to get to the battle this session. Forget about it. We got to get to the first battle.
Remind me when we get to advancement to take the D6 plus whatever points and drop them all into orate. So that's all I'm doing for the month that we're here.
Do the three of you make time between your spy mastery, your moozing, your betters, and your prolisthetizing to ever meet up with each other during the long months outside of Terabell?
So as soon as Herawd talks with Merlin, he will seek out the other two.
I think contrary to what AP has been espousing, there is definitely at the very least a weekly dinner where the three of us get to, or at least that.
Yeah, but who says
Kendric
grace?
would be like. I mean, I think we all do because we all worship different deities.
Perfect.
But yeah, that there are times that the three of us would spend together for sure.
Definitely.
Okay. Is there anything else you all want to do before we move forward?
I don't actually have a passion for this group, by the way. I feel like I should establish that.
Yeah, well, 3d6.
Yeah. I think I don't. Does Herawd?
Does Herawd what?
Have a passion for Order of the Axe?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I was pretty sure it was just the three original members. And I mean, it kind of makes sense that Gwgan is a little bit lower because
building it up over time.
Yeah. So Herawd, you were saying something?
Brothers, I've had a chat with one of Uther's advisors. As you know, I've got my intelligence network. I have some new recruits placed inside of Tintagel. There's been an ask of me to go to the city and try and find if there's anything that I can find out to help the course of things. But I don't want to abandon the order and abandon the mission, so I wanted to talk it over with you.
Have you been given leave to leave the camp? I mean, aren't we all here on the king's orders?
I have been given permission to head to Tintagel if that is my decision. And should I make that ride, I would certainly not like to make it alone. That said, if you tell me that my sword is needed here, so be it then. I can try and see if I can muster intelligence a different way.
I know, Kendric, that you've come here with Prismatic and the glory of battle awaits. I wouldn't ask you to take that, but I would be willing to ride with Herawd to Tintagel to ensure the safety of his message. Would you be willing to fight without the two of us?
Yes. I think that Tintagel is an impregnable fortress. So Herawd, if you have agents on the inside of Tintagel, that could be a boon, not to us, but to the kingdom. And if they can somehow leverage a swifter end to these sieges, then all of Logris benefits. I think that is well worth a momentary split in our company.
I hate to split the party, though.
Yes, well, but it's kind of what the game system is designed for.
Yeah, that's the GM problem. It's not ours.
You can see, though, that your squire Hebes, I believe it's still Hebes this year?
No, Hebes is now a knight.
I see. Who's the new squire?
Gwenarth.
You can hear him talking quietly with the other squires that, you know, the opportunities for glory are here. And they, in the way that teenagers do, they think that no one's listening to them, even though they're only a few feet away, having a totally separate conversation. The three of them assume that honors will be heaped on them if they remain here for the great battle. And Gwenar is remarking that, you know, he hopes that Herawd will see the wisdom of remaining here. There is nothing to be gained by going to get closer to jugglers and people who dance with their bodies. What useful information could they have? They have been captured as spies. And then all three of them turn and look at all three of you with wide eyes. In the way that kids whose hands are in the cookie jar.
Like to add to this discussion?
My lord, I am only looking out for your best interests. What honor is there to be gained from Tintagel that you could not continue to gain in the way that you have? I do not know your ways and affairs, but is there something more you would gain by proximity to Tintagel that you would lose by being here at Terrabil?
There is an opportunity at Tintagel. You may not know this because you have not been to many sieges. They are often not won by force of arms. We either starve them out, which will take years, as Duke Gorlois is a excellent commander and has had a long time to prepare for this situation, although I think he thought it was going to be the Irish, not his fellow Britons. Or there are men on the inside of a castle who are willing to turn and open the doors from the inside.
He looks wide-eyed as you describe treason.
I mean, yeah.
I think you squires need to learn the difference between honor and glory. Yes, glory can be gained in battle, but it is the greatest honor not to serve the kingdom. And if a battle can be avoided, Is that not a greater honor? Yes, glory is lost, but more is won for the people as a whole.
Gwent was replaced, right?
Yeah,
Gwent
with
is now
Nerys. So is my new squire.
Squire Nerys steps forward and talks some mad shit to you right after you're like, what's the highest? He steps forward and bows his head. She bows her head and she says, "It's not the greatest glory not serving the kingdom, but the kingdom of heaven."
That's right. And the kingdom of heaven is best served by those that are faithful to the kingdom being alive.
Oh,
not killing each other.
You got her. All right. She's behind your side now. Well, Herawd, what do you want to tell your squire, who's clearly not 100% behind this, but now that he's seeing his allies fall left and right around him, seduced by religious argument?
Mine is also a woman, Gwenarth, but that's fine.
Okay. When did all this happen? I didn't have any of these people written down.
It happened in the winter phase.
Who do you have as my squire?
Hayden?
Hayden, yeah, that is correct.
You're the only one I have that had a new squire, but I think that's because Elliston left before you were supposed to get a new squire.
Yes.
All right. I completely failed to write down these new squires, but now we know a little bit about them.
I want to believe that Nerys is not actually Christian, but just tried to use my own bullshit against me.
I think that if you're going to name someone Nerys, the same name as the Bajoran fanatic from Deep Space Nine, that she's 100% super Orthodox Christian.
I didn't name her. The D294 named her when I rolled it on the table.
Yeah, well, the D294 decided that she is a devout follower of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Okay.
In the words of Star Trek Lower Decks, tell the paw race I'll see him in hell. Glimo, if you haven't seen Star Trek Lower Decks and you're a Star Trek fan, you should absolutely watch it. It is fantastic. That said, back to the present. Are you writing for Tintagel then?
Sounds like yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
you depart from Terrabil.
I think there's probably like some sort of like
Sorry?
breaking of the fellowship moment where everybody's like super sad, and then Kendric.
No.
An Enya song plays as all three of you reach hands out towards each other. Glimo slowly riding away, like too much motion on his horse.
Like at the dinner where all this is decided.
Oh, okay.
There's like the breaking of the fellowship moment, and when Legolas and Gimli are super sad, and then Aragorn's like, actually, I'm the king of men, and this shit ain't over yet.
We are three hunters.
Interesting fact, Enya, her name was spelt the Celtic way, and she legally changed her name to Enya because people couldn't call her by her, like when she became famous, they would get her name wrong.
That's okay. I still can't get Celtic name right.
Well, Enya in Celtic is Eithne.
Wow. I would not have gotten that.
Yeah, nope. So,
you depart with a very sad squire in tow. And I want to imagine Merlin comes to the edge of the camp to see you off.
So is it Sir Herawd and Sir Gwgan are both going?
Yep.
Right.
So it's just Kendric left with the young wolves?
Yep.
Oh boy, that's rough.
Yeah. Yep. Like his one like good, maybe not even good day, but like his one like, oh yeah, I can just like relax with my boys, is now gone.
What I really like about the situation is that the three of you insisted on staying together when you arrived here, and you have been pulled apart by random events. Not even events that I orchestrated, just basically your own decision.
Yeah.
We will come back to Tintagel at another date. There is Terrabil to speak of.
So the last thing that Herawd will say to Merlin is, How shall I get the message back to you if I can't trust my birds?
He puts a hand on your shoulder and says, "You must speak it on the wind, sending it through the breeze, the summer, and the sky, and I'll just send my own birds."
You'll know them because they have rose petals that follow after them.
He just sends birds that are native to North America. No, he only sends owls. His messenger owls.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. He only sends messenger owls. That's how people know not to shoot it down, because only such a slow-flying, wide-winged creature that could easily be seen from miles away. Those are Merlin's birds. Hold your arrow.
Merlin wouldn't send Merlins? Okay.
I'm sorry. Because you have to realize that Merlins are actually, I believe they're the birds that are only meant for young noble women to send in falconry. I'm sorry, Glimo, they're spoken for by the laws of the land.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kendric.
Yes.
I would like you to make a courtesy roll to see if you find yourself drawn closer to Matic, or you are pushed away by the absence of any support or friends, alone and adrift at Terrabil.
Yeah, I think he, with Gwgan and Herawd gone, he definitely kind of falls into a little bit of a funk.
It's the opposite of the walls closing in. You are in one of the largest war camps you've ever seen, and you are somehow completely alone. You're elevated way above your station. You walk with the highest people in the land, and you are alone. I'm glad I didn't ask you to make a compose roll or something. Your rolls said it'd have been bad.
I mean, yeah, like, I don't know. It's been, because I got that critical earlier, but ever since then, it's kind of been wishy-washy.
At least I didn't ask you to multiple block blitz.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 die.
Try and
two
break
downs.
an 8 plus
reroll.
armor.
2 downs.
Yeah.
Break an 8 plus armor? Impossible.
Yeah.
Not in this house. One day, you're not sure when. It's just been weeks since you've seen Herawd and Gwgan. Merlin disappears from the camp.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Do you grouse with your boys about fuck Merlin?
No, I mean, I think that's a very personal and internalized hatred.
How strong is your passion?
It's like a 9, but
okay.
But I feel like none of these dudes knew Owain, so why would they care? I think maybe if I had passed that courtesy roll, yes, but none of these guys give a shit about Owain.
I would like to ask you a pointed question.
Sure.
Your pagan religion believes that drinking to excess, lusting after women, boasting are all activities of the highest order of knightlyhood and manliness. Would you be opposed to me asking you to make a versus spiritual worldly roll and see where we go from there based on success or failure? Now that you have no support group, your wife is not here, your family knights are not here, you are truly alone.
No, I mean, I think that's fine. Okay.
It's also okay to say no.
So I think the only thing that I would say here is that while lusting after women is part of his religion, Kendric does love his wife.
Sure.
But like the drinking and boasting and everything else that's fine.
Even when you've ordered your meal, you can still look at the menu.
Sure. And yeah, some flirting, probably.
Sure.
But anything further than that, no.
Okay. Let's start with the spiritual roll. Well, you
That's a
found your
success.
higher power. Go ahead and put a check in that.
Okay.
I'd also still like you to roll worldly.
Yeah. That is a failure.
Okay. You are leaning into the things that your gods ask of you. I would like you to make a flirting roll, and then I'd like you to make a lustful roll.
Okay. Flirting is
Critical
not
flirting.
great.
Critical flirting.
No, fail.
No. Okay. Lustful.
That's 15. That's a success.
And indulgent.
Indulgent.
And check lustful.
Okay. That is a critical indulgent.
Boy, go ahead and raise indulgent up to 11, temper it down to 9, and put a check in indulgent as well.
Okay.
I am afraid, Kendric, that drinking to excess, eating your fill, and asking for more, and I am ashamed to say it on your behalf, but as much as you love your wife, she is not here. And the way Pendragon goes, sometimes dalliances get out of your hand.
Sure.
We will see at the end of the year. Let's make a note here that you have a girl stashed away in the Dairy Islands.
Okay. And I imagine that a lot of these like parties that he's going to and like these little feasts are all probably put on by the young wolves.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna be honest. You're probably the organizer of them.
Yeah.
I want to say that the young wolves, like most knights, are probably Christian, but the idea, like, you're becoming such a pagan, the mad bear, you're now legendary drinking, you're lusting. These, I don't think it's even you like prolicitizing or spreading propaganda. It's just that these parties have taken like a weird bend for them, and they're 100% into it.
Yeah.
You're showing them a different lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, oh, we can do this?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man.
I think you just formed a fraternity. I think that we've managed to talk Kendric into forming the first fraternity in all of the Isles of Britain. That night, you are drunk with a woman in bed whose face we cannot see. You hear...
Damn it.
What? Such a wife. Jesus. Wow.
Oh my God. The fucking quickness, James.
No, it was so sharp. It was so sharp. Can I get back to doing my thing, though?
That was amazing. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. But listen, I have to respect the hustle on that one. But also, I was describing something really dramatic.
Yeah.
You are drunk, half asleep, a woman in your bed. I feel like you have like an actual wolf skin cover to your bed. Like, you've been here long enough that you've hunted a wolf, and just straight up, it's
Sure.
You've been here long enough that a wolf was hunted in the nearby woods, was skinned, was tanned, and has been processed into a blanket for you. That's how long you've been here. You hear a sentinel shouting a word of alarm. A trumpet blares. Halfway through, you can hear the sounds that would be the call to arms, like I feel like I have to explain this to the audience just in case people aren't like military historians or armchair generals like myself. But the trumpets have a specific call that gives different orders, and they're on their way to a general call to arms after an alert that would basically be like, hey, we're being attacked. Get up and start fighting. That is cut off halfway through, and then you hear shouting and the distinct sound of metal clashing on metal, horses rampaging. It's bad. After that, you start hearing the screaming.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you don your armor before joining the fight?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You hear men from the Young Wolves. About a third of them are getting up and running out. Basically, not just naked, but like dick in the wind, running out with just a sword, a shielded sword, screaming,
Idiots.
running in the direction of the battle. You hear some of them just shouting, "Young Wolves!" and other people are going, "Ow!"
Those dudes are gonna die.
Would you ask your squire to arm you or put you on your horse?
What is the difference here?
Well,
Like, what does arm mean?
Fully
Like,
armored with a sword or spear out and shield attached to your arm, or mounted, which gives you the +5 -5. Okay. Your new squire, whose name I definitely know, is Hayden.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any chance that Hayden is also a female squire as well?
I mean, that's up to James.
Hayden's the son of my cousin.
Of course, the son of your cousin. Yeah. Yes. Hayden is quickly, quietly, and soberly armoring you up. And I think in the process, like, in between, like, strapping something to your arm and, like, making sure your chainmail is properly ready, just constantly looking out the tent, he's also, like, physically kicking the butt of the woman in your bed and just like, "Get out of here. This is a battlefield. Run in the opposite direction." She's just like, "I'm sorry, what? Who are you? Where am I?"
Kendric's just like, "Get
out." Within a minute, this is probably the fastest the two of you have ever put your armor on together. And to be clear, normally a man would wear clothes underneath his armor. It would be totally normal. You do not have the time for that fortunate situation. So the chainmail is definitely being caught in body hair that it should not be caught in. But it's either that or die.
Yeah, it's either that or taking a sword through the chest.
You have shield in hand if you wish it, sword or spear or lance or maul if you should wish that as well.
So I'm gonna roll a 1d2. 1 is sword and shield. 2 is the hammer.
Okay.
Hammer it is.
So no shield, huh?
No shield, just hammer.
Hammer time.
Hayden looks at you and gives you, in the flickering torchlight of the campfires, I feel like, you've got like the leather draped closing area of your tent, and like as the wind goes by, torchlight flickers in and you just get one part of Hayden's like amber colored eye looking concernedly at you, giving you the impression that Hayden wants to know whether you're going now and he should follow you, or whether you want your horse.
I think Sir Kendric grabs him by the shoulder and says, "Stay close to me. Where we need to get out into battle.
All right.
We need to find Earl Roderick and the Prince."
Hayden grabs some sort of knife and a shield himself, begins running after you.
I think he's probably got my sword and shield.
Sure. He takes his cross and he kisses it as he's running behind you, and you can hear him saying a prayer. He's like, "I am Hayden, a Christian son. Please, God, I just want to get through the night." And that's where we're going to pick up next time. Gwgan, Herawd. Castle Tintagel is a impregnable fortress. It is built on top of an island with cliffs on all sides. It can only be approached on a stone causeway 3 men wide. As you approach, you can be fired on from very wide angles from the castle. You arrive late to this particular siege, and yet there are still assaults tried. Every assault over the causeway has ended in disaster. Uther has set trebuchets up to hurl rock and burning pitch against the walls. Those are done by the time you arrive, and they are utterly useless. The walls of this castle are carved directly out of the hard stone of the island, and strongly reject any attempt to break through them. You spend several weeks here. The knights are bored. But it's much, much worse than Terabel. You army with the king, and the king is enraged at all times. The war camp is not one of Prince Maddox's joviality, geniality. There are no young wolves here. There are no pagan, weird sex rituals and drunkenness in the night. There is only Uther flying into camps which get too raucous, questioning where their loyalties lie. How dare they give their position away? Where does the, like, if you have such favor, why are you not standing at the front of the line when it is time to charge into Tintagel? And so those who are most jovial find themselves the quickest to die. They are forced to march at the front of Uther's van, which rarely ends well. It is on an afternoon that Merlin arrives and pulls Uther aside for a secret conference. And perhaps for the first time since either of you have arrived, Uther is not in a rage. And that is also where we will pick up next time. Congratulations for making it through the very first part of 491. You've managed to split the party before one of the most important battles in the entire game.
Oh, but at least we get to witness something important.
This motherfucker knows the campaign. Word for word, at least when you go to Tintagel, at least you get to witness something important. Sure, yeah, you get to see it happen. Well, how do we feel about this episode? And or Glimo, it's outro time, just in case you got something you want to throw here.
You know, I'm confused as always. That's kind of my defaults of
What's got you confused here? Everything's completely straightforward. Sheridan's a lunatic. He wants to get married because he's an incel now. Kendric has formed a fraternity of frat bros. Gwgan may actually be the second coming of Christ. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I did not expect that. I did not expect this to go this way. I thought for sure that my compatriots were going to tell me, no, stay here. That Merlin fucker. So sorry, guys, that I inadvertently somehow split the party.
So one of the things about Pendragon is it definitely deals with splitting the party much better than any other. I don't know about any other, but much better than a lot of other systems.
And for the point of view of from an audience perspective as well, it's good here because they get to see. Because literally in the book, this is two separate scenes that the group can be a part of, and it means the audience gets to see the outcomes of both because both are quite important to what happens next. So,
yeah,
cool. But only slightly broke AP's game.
Hey man, I completely rolled with it.
And now we get to have really dramatic cuts between the two scenes.
Yeah, Star Wars style. This will be one space battle, one ground battle, and a lightsaber duel.
I feel like it's just gonna be Gwgan and Herawd on horses, just looking on and going, "Wow, that fight up there seems really intense." And then we're gonna cut to Kendric with a cut on his cheek, blood flowing down his face onto his eyes, rain pouring down around him, his squire with his shield at his back, just fighting desperately for his life. Then we cut back to Herawd and Gwgan, just oh, man, I hope Kendric's well. Pull out a bottle of wine, take a sip. Yeah. We cut back to Kendric. He's using a Saxon's arm to beat another Saxon to death. You could see that his mace smote in half behind him.
Yeah.
One of these days, I hear from my minstrels.
Back to Kendric. Hayden is dead.
I'm using a broken knife to stab somebody to death.
There's 6 arrows in Hayden's chest, and it's clear that you've used him as a shield after his death. Cut back. Gwgan is just reading a Bible passage. Listen, Kendric, you're in for a fucking rough time. This is going to be a terrible battle for you. You've had close ones before. I think this is going to be a bad one for you.
At least the point you go out, that's the battle scene over, because there's no one else to.
There's nobody else there to run.
Yeah, and unless you want like Glimo and I to roll for like some of the young wolves.
I was gonna say I might have you guys just play other young wolves.
Yeah, other young wolves. Yeah. Well, then you'll be going out before me because you don't have any armor on.
I said only a third of the young wolves ran out there.
Okay.
A third.
So one of us has no armor. One of them has no armor on. Then one of us.
All right, we'll roll to see who doesn't have the armor. If it's Kendric, we wreck on the scene.
I think that's good. I think I appreciate these sort of character development games as well. So,
I mean, I didn't realize the thing with Jared was going to take so long. He's become increasingly more prevalent. I'm worried that we're going to reach a crescendo of him that's just going to be a story of death and blood.
He's going to rapier himself for sure.
He's going to rapier himself. One day, Barrett's going to show up dressed like Jared and get plastic surgery to look slightly like him and be like, "Hey guys, it's me, Jared. I know you all saw me die last season, but I'm back, bro." Rapier. Oh, what a cruel thing to do to the audience. Would I do it a second time? Would I?
Well, here's the thing, though, is we didn't see Sir Jaredin die. He's just missing.
Sure.
And there was no, explosion off screen.
Yeah. I specifically didn't say he was dead.
Yeah.
Are we good for next week?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think I told you this is a public holiday this weekend, so it's a 3-day weekend. Ish. And my wife, because it's my Sunday, my wife normally on Sundays does rugby. She does the nursing for the rugby, and she didn't have it today. And she's like, "Oh, you should totally cancel streaming today, and we should hang out and do stuff together." I'm like, "No, we missed last week." So,
James, you asked me if there was anything I wanted for my Nemesis match. I feel like I'm asking for too much by asking if I can get a star player, but let me ask you this. Can I get BigSpoon as a live commentator and guest referee so he can interfere with calls on my behalf?
It depends on the time of day. And look, everybody that's coming with something weird for their Nemesis match, I'm like, sure, we'll let the dice decide, but I've got to work out what's the...
which star player I'm going to ask for.
The partial state and the success state. So, yeah.
You know who it's going to be. And I should mention that I will also be appearing in person in that match.
Sydney Pybustle, right?
Of course.
Now that I've got you on camera, I just want to ensure, can I show up as a human noble blitzer despite the fact that my team escaped him?
Yeah.
Excellent. I will be showing up in person in that match because I'm going to take the move right before that match.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
Good. I mean, you guys were the ones that convinced me to get Lodge on my human noble blitzer.
A nobility blitzer or a human blitzer?
The nobility blitzer. He's noble.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Lord Rensparrow.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's different stats for a human blitzer versus
the noble blitzer's better. That's why I'm going to be a noble blitzer.
Because they get catch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to take block, dodge, mighty blow, and catch. Well, guys, we'll be back next week. Kendric will be fighting for his life. Herawd and Gwgan will occasionally get excerpts of a scene that's happening that I will read monotonously as I go directly out of the book. That's going to be 90% of the 90% of the night.
I will say, I think probably some of my favorite moments tonight was stuff that wasn't in the book.
Yeah.
Like our scenes between the three of us dealing with Sir Jaredin were all very interesting to me.
The Young Wolves, I think, were pretty.
Yeah, the Young Wolves was pretty good.
Oh, I could think of Attis-Calroy.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna go rewatch that scene now. Friends at home, we'll be back next week. Have a good night, or have a good time zone.